Hi, thanks for joining me. I'm your host, Zach Randles-Friedman. You're listening to the Everything and Anything and a Bit Gay podcast. I looked this week at the demographics of my podcast because I have a company that's interested in working with me to do host-read ads. And they're like, what's your demographics? And I needed to do like a media or a press kit and stuff. And so I started putting that together, and I looked a long time ago what my demographics were for my podcast. And this time I looked at them, I kind of went more in depth. And I was actually kind of surprised. Like, I'm really all over the place with my demographics. And I have a large group of people that are 18 to 24. I think it's like 22% of my audience is that. And then the next 25 to 34, I think is the range. I think is where maybe the next biggest group sits. And then 36, I don't know to what it is. I forgot what it is, but it kind of goes up. And then I go up to 65, and then it starts dropping off. Like even like, I don't know, maybe it's 61 and up. It's lower. It's maybe 10% or 8% of my audience. So I'm skewing more towards a younger audience, which is interesting, and makes me think about my topics that I'm talking about. But I guess I'm doing the right thing because that's who's listening to the show. And the reason why I think about topics and I looked at this is because I'm thinking about what topics is going to resonate with my audience. But I'm just going to kind of keep doing what I want to do. One of the things I think about also, or when I'm talking with guests that are around my age, is what would it have been like for me in high school if I would have had social media and the internet? Because I grew up and we didn't even have cell phones when I was in high school. And I know that must sound crazy, especially if my audience demographics are true. But yeah, we didn't have cell phones. We had beepers. I grew up in Miami and we had beepers. And you would have thought we were all drug dealers or doctors. But that's how you would get in touch with your friends. If they were out, you would have to beep them and they had to call you from a payphone. So, and I also think about, if you think about applying for jobs back, whenever I was coming out of college, we had the internet, but you were still applying for jobs, faxing your resume. There was no LinkedIn back then. There was no Indeed. There was none of those sites were there for looking for jobs. You had to look in the newspaper for jobs. Because I remember whenever I met my husband, Andrew, and he was looking for a job, he'd get the New York Times every Sunday. And he's like, oh, look at how big the job section is. And he'd be looking through the classifieds for jobs, or just, I don't know, he would look through the job and say, look how big the job section is. That means the economy is doing really well because there's so many jobs out there. And then when the classifieds for job listings was a page or two, he's like, oh, the economy's going down, like shit's going to hit the fan. And so, you think about all that, but I go back and I think, if you think about how these kids are such bullies and you see them online today and you see them on TikTok and you see how these kids cyberbully other kids and stuff, what would have been like in my high school? I feel like when I was in high school, if somebody pissed me off, I think I would have probably been a cyberbully because I feel like I wanted revenge on somebody if they pissed me off or something. So I was a little brat kid. I was not a nice kid growing up, I don't think. I mean, I love my friends and I had lots of friends, but I don't know. I think trying to figure out who I was. And then if a kid, there's a couple of kids in school that would call me gay and stuff. So I think I had, it makes you have a thicker skin. So, I think I probably would have definitely cyberbullied a couple of these assholes that were calling me fag and gay and stuff in high school. But it would have been a completely different world. And I'm glad I didn't have social media. I'm glad we didn't have the internet. And, I got a cell phone or a mobile phone in college, but it wasn't my first year of college, was it? No, it wasn't. No, it was probably not until my second or third year of college, I got a cell phone. And I just, you think about that, and you think about like, how did I know where to go? Like, I lived in south of Miami, and then if I was going to North Miami or I was going to Fort Lauderdale, I didn't have GPS. So like you had to get a map, but they had map quests where you could print out, I guess, the directions is what we used to do once the internet came. But before that, like, how did I know where to go? And it's so crazy. It's like we're so dependent on our mobile phones and the internet now. And my guest today kind of made me think about all this because he's a psychologist. His name is Michael. He's a doctor, he's a psychologist, and he volunteers each week and helps people that are being cyberbullied or cyber attacks. And we went through and talked about all this. I didn't know there's a difference between cyberbullying and cyber stalking and cyber attacks and all this. And he went through and he talked to me about it. And I've never gone onto the dark web. I don't even know how to go on the dark web. But he's like, there's some scary shit there. And I mean, I kind of want to go just to check it out to see what's there. But I also like, I don't, maybe I don't want to know. But, like he's like, if you want to buy guns or drugs or, I'm sure there's all types of bad porn there and stuff. So it's like nothing that I'm really interested in. But, I don't know. Is there like a big secret that I'm missing, or is there something I'm missing going to the dark web? But I also don't want to go on there and then I get hacked somehow. That's what I feel. I feel like it's a bunch of hackers. And I don't actually understand. Like, I guess it's on servers that aren't listed. Is that what the dark web is? Maybe I should have Googled this before I did this intro. But I'm going to Google what the dark web is. But Michael has a really interesting job, or volunteers. He's a psychiatrist or a psychologist. And he said he deals with people that are schizophrenic and stuff, or bipolar. And so he deals with those people. But he's got an interesting background. And it took us a while to kind of schedule this interview. We kept going back and forth because both of our schedules. But I'm so glad I got a chance to talk to him. I felt there's so many more episodes we could do together because he was so fascinating about what he does and talking about how these people are cyberbullied and cyberstalked, and it was such a good education. I really enjoyed the conversation with him. I hope you enjoy the interview, and I think you're going to learn something about what's happening in the world of the internet. So enjoy the show. Thanks so much for joining me on the Everything and Anything and a Bit Gay podcast today. I have Dr. Nuccitelli. Am I saying your last name correctly?
Nuccitelli, but you can call me Michael. That's fine. Thank you.
I'll call him Michael. He is on my show to talk about some things I think are very interesting. Cyber stalking, cyberbullying, cyber attacks, kind of all the above. And we're going to get into it. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. Good day. And thank you for having me on.
So tell me, I mean, this cyber attack, cyberbullying, cyber predators, all that is so common now. I feel like you hear more and more about it. And so tell me how you got started in this and how you like decided to go in and do something about it.
Okay, well, first and foremost, I am a New York State licensed psychologist. I got my doctoral degree back in, the 90s.
Okay.
And once I got my doctoral degree, started working in the clinical world, my fascination became forensic psychology. So I was predominantly a clinical psychologist, working with the community. But I also, as a forensic psychologist, I started doing assessments in family, criminal, and civil courts. And my fascination with what I call the dark side dates back to, the early 2000s.
Yeah.
And so I was doing forensic assessments in the courts back in the early 2000s to 2009. In 2010, which is at the website, I wrote a dark side of human consciousness concept called dark psychology.
Okay.
And that deals with the stuff that goes on. I mean, the basic premise of dark psychology is all of us, yourself, me, your audience, we all walk through life with dark thoughts, violent thoughts, sometimes deviant thoughts. But by the grace of God, they stay between our ears. We don't act upon them. They stay within fantasy. But when an individual begins to obsess, begins to really fantasize, that is when it approaches the point to where those dark fantasies can begin to planning and then to go into action. This is where we have pedophiles. This is where we have serial homicide. This is where we have sexual deviants and all the world of what used to be called the criminal mind.
Yeah.
Well, I was a forensic psychologist for quite some time. And then around 2009, 2010, I spent a lot of time studying the psychopath. I went up to Canada and took the training for Dr. Hare's psychopathic deviance scale. I didn't need to get certified, so I just took the training. And that's really, when I really got, I don't want to say obsessed, but thinking about, the serial killer, the serial homicide, the sexual deviant, and thinking about what are they thinking, their fantasies, so forth and so on. So I came to the conclusion, goodness, we're talking about 2009, 2010, is I thought to myself, if I was a criminal, if I was a deviant, if I was a psychopath, where better to go if I want to hide my identity or skew my identity? Cyberspace, the internet. And that is how iPredator was born, because it's the recognition, I call it the veil of anonymity. So Zach, for yourself and your audience, and now with AI, Zach, I mean, I could essentially not be Dr. Nuccitelli right now. I could be some, AI creation. I mean, we're not to that point yet. Within the next,
we're almost there, though. I think
almost. So that is the next step. So iPredator is a dark side of cyberspace concept.
Okay,
it's made up of 8 typologies. You want me to name them off real quickly?
Yeah, sure.
So with iPredator, like I said, there's 8 types of online assessments. The only one that deals with child-on-child cyber attack is cyberbullying. Okay, that is child-on-child cyber attack. Okay. Children involved in some of the other typologies, but only cyberbullying is child-on-child cyber attacks. The adult manifestation of cyberbullying would be cyber harassers, internet trolls, and then cyber stalkers.
Okay.
Then we have our cyber criminals. That's the whole world of cybercrime. Then we have cyber terrorists. Thank God we have not seen any lethality come from that. And then we have the darkest, the most deviant of the iPredator is your online child predator, and what is now called, it's no longer online child pornography. It is CSAM, which is child sexual abuse material consumers and distributors. So even when I posted, content online, educating, online users about online child pornography, it's gotten deleted. So now what we call, well, not we, they, the industry, child sexual abuse material, the acronym CSAM. So those 8 typologies make up iPredator, the dark side of cyberspace.
Yeah. And are you going into like the whole, I mean, I've never gone to the dark web. I don't even know how to get there, to be honest. But, like I can't even imagine, like sometimes when I watch some of these, videos of TikTokers or YouTubers talking about what they found there, it seems like it's just like a whole crazy world, the dark web. Is that, I mean,
you're correct. I mean, the dark web, well, it's important for your viewers, your audience to know is that the vast majority of iPredators, the vast majority of illegal activity, the vast majority of cyber stalking, cyber harassment, internet trolling, all of them is on the internet. Yeah. The dark web, yes, is the seedy underbelly of the internet where, it gets really, where you can buy drugs, you can buy weapons, but everything that is iPredator, the vast majority, you don't have to go to the dark web.
Wow.
I have volunteered after work and on the weekends, goodness, for close to, 15 years, helping people that get cyber attacked, internet trolled, cyber stalked, all of that. 99.9% of the victims, it occurred in regular social media online. So it's important to know, if I may, so we have the 8 types of iPredator, but to know whether you or a member of your audience is an iPredator, it's very, very common sense, very simple. 3 criteria.
Okay.
1 is the use of information communication technology to harm somebody. The use of social media, the use of internet, email, information communication technology. The second criteria, which can be this is when we deal with the forensic psychology. Our mitigating factors is a self-awareness of causing harm to another online user.
Okay.
Now, when we're dealing in cyberbullying, child-on-child cyber attacks, some children do not intuitively develop maturation. They do not know that they are really causing significant psychological harm to another child. They think it's fun. They think it's, they're doing it to be cool.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a small percentage. The vast majority of children know that they are hurting and teasing and taunting their target. But so the second criteria is a self-awareness. Using information technology. 2 is self-aware, is knowing that you're looking to hurt, harm, sexually exploit, steal from, abuse, whatever it may be. And then the third criteria is called what I call cyber stealth, which is a fancy term for an online deception. So I can essentially, Zach, I can either hide my identity completely, the veil of anonymity, or if I choose, I can use online deception and I can skew my identity or I can skew my intentions. Now, with AI, goodness gracious, in the next 3 to 5 years, I'll be able to create a profile and talk to you, Zach, and you will be a 15-year-old freshman going to the high school in the town over from me. I'm in Sheepshead Bay, Brooklyn. You're over there in Midwood, and you think I'm a 15-year-old freshman when in reality, I'm a 50-year-old man sitting here creating, this facade.
Yeah.
Yet truly is the future of iPredator and the veil of anonymity.
Have you seen, they just had a Hollywood actress that it's a Hollywood actress that is coming to do full feature movies, and the person has a manager and a publicist and all this, but it's an AI person.
Okay, well there you go. This is the future.
It's crazy.
It's absolutely, and I don't want to say it's going to get worse. It's already. Obviously, the birth of the internet is 1983. So the late 70s, early 80s is when the internet began. Social media really started taking off around 2010. Mm-hmm. Here we are. It's 2025, going into 26. And we are dealing with serious issues, ranging from cyberbullying as it relates to children, cyberstalking. Goodness gracious, we could do a whole show just on cybercrime in terms of how much money is lost to people being hacked, to being, so forth and so on. But iPredator is a cyber psychology and dark side of cyberspace concept. Zach, my expertise is between the ears. When it comes to technology, Zach, I am a tech idiot. I am a novice. I know how to do basic stuff with my computer. But in terms of being able to hack, I would have to call a black hat hacker or a white hat hacker. I am not a hacker. My expertise is the mind.
And what's most common though between those kind of different personalities that you kind of just talked about, whether it's cyberbullying with children or cyber stalkers, what's the most common?
Well, when you say what's the most common in terms of the types, the typology?
Yeah, the typology. Because I feel like cyberbullying with children, I feel like kids I feel like that might be the top one if I had to guess.
Well, when you say top, do you mean in terms of frequency?
Frequency, yeah. What do you see the most?
Well, again, I can base it on my volunteer and my research. Again, we've got children, minors, and then we've got adults, because there are just as many adults as there are children that are internet trolled, cyber stalked, and particularly with adults is cybercrime, where they are hacked or where they end up clicking on a link. That's where adults really get nailed on. But cyberbullying is growing. It's getting worse. Just think of it, Zach. We can do a whole show on what's called internet addiction. Mm-hmm. All right. Most children, and I hate to say most adults, but let's just stick with kids. Most children, from the time they wake up to the time they go to bed, they are online.
Yep.
And now that we have mobile devices, cell phones, children are just constantly online, constantly. Yep. And, during the COVID, during that time, during the pandemic, What did we have? We had what's called VLE, or virtual learning environments.
Yeah.
Children, because we were all, stuck here at home, children ended up going to school online. So now that COVID is over, there are still many educational school systems that are doing VLE. I mean, goodness, you can get a college degree. You can get a master's degree now online. And nothing against adult online education, but it just speaks to where we are with technology in relationship to where we are as a society.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on my phone. The moment I get up, that's the first thing I do is I grab my phone to check my social media, my email. When I go to bed, before I turn the lights off, that's what I do as well. And what's really crazy is I just went on a vacation over Labor Day weekend with a group of friends, and we're at dinner. And these are friends that live in New York, friends that live in Boston, friends that live, in different places. So we only see each other a couple of times a year. During that dinner, everybody was on their phone.
Oh my goodness, Zach, and I didn't come up with this term. It's called phubbing. phubbing.
Okay.
It is a major faux pas. It's very rude. Phubbing is where the person that you're talking to is sitting there and they're dealing with their cell phone instead of looking at you and talking to you. Yes, that is what phubbing is.
At one point, I'm sitting there and I said, I'm the only one that wasn't on my phone. I said, what are you all doing on your phone?
Yep.
Like, what's so important? Like, we're all sitting here waiting for our dinners to come out.
Yes.
Shouldn't we be talking? Like, who are you texting or who are you looking? They were like on apps looking for dates or whatever they were doing. And it was just like, I was sitting there. I could have been sitting there alone and I could have said nothing for 10 minutes and nobody would have even noticed.
Exactly. And that is listen, information technology is wonderful. Mobile device technology is wonderful. Yeah. But just like anything in life, there are assets and there are benefits to information technology. But the downside is, I believe, is that what it's doing is it's isolating us. Okay. Just like you said, I mean, sitting at dinner and you're with your friends or you're with your loved ones, and instead of looking at each other and talking to one another and having, whatever you want to talk about, you're spending time and you have a device in between you and the person you're dealing with. That is, and I've said this for many years, that is the beginning of the disconnection.
Yeah.
The question is, particularly as it comes with AI, and now we have chat bots. I mean, I don't want to get into the personal. I volunteer after work and on the weekends helping the cyber attack. I've been doing that for 15 years. Goodness gracious. I don't know how many people I've helped. I don't keep any data. I talk to you one time, whether it's 5 minutes or 5 hours. I am just starting to get calls of folks who are, and I tell them, I'm Dr. Nuccitelli. This is confidential. I don't record. I'm just starting to have people tell me, and they don't want to come out and tell me, that they're having conversations with chats. Yeah. And what they're starting to let on is that they're getting connected to the AI.
Yeah.
They have yet to tell me outright. Again, this is a new phenomenon. As you know, it's only been the past, I would say, 3 to 5 years, but now it's beginning. People go online and they can get therapy using AI. They have friendships with AI. And here we are with, God bless Elon Musk. Pretty soon, Optimus is going to be, I call Optimus right now. They can make me dinner.
Yeah. Well, my mom has a Facebook account and she goes on and writes, she's not political, but she likes to go in and I don't want to be political on my show, and I don't care what people's political backgrounds are, but my mom goes on and writes things about Donald Trump because she doesn't like him. Mm-hmm. And she's a 75-year-old woman, so she can say whatever she wants as the way I feel about it. But she goes on, and there was these people that were coming on and making comments to her about it. And I said, and then I started looking at the people's profiles, and I'm like, it's weird. I realized like 4 of those people were chat bots or bots that were going on and responding to her comments about Trump and like saying that, all this negative stuff about, Democrats and liberals and all this, and really sticking up for Trump. And I'm like, Mom, you're talking to nobody.
Right.
You're responding back to this person, and it's not a person. It's a bot.
Right. There is, again, if we get a little bit more, maybe in a different show, but there's two sub concepts to iPredator I want to introduce to your audience. First is called odor. Offline, that's the acronym. Offline distress dictates online response. And essentially what that means is whatever my state of mind is, whatever my psychological, whatever my social world is like offline, when I go online, it directly impacts my interpretation, okay? When it comes to information, there are only three ways that we can manipulate and manage information. We can compile information, we can disseminate information, and we can exchange information.
Yeah.
Now, if I'm an anti-Trumper, if I have Trump derangement syndrome, or if I love whatever it may be, whether it's ideological, whether it is religious extremism, whatever your belief system is, if you go online and you begin to spill it out on social media, you increase your risk of being targeted.
Yeah.
And God bless your mother. But what I will say it on this show, like I say in every show, because every host asks me, Dr. Nuccitelli, what advice do you have for my audience? And I always say, I say it 3 times: personal information, personal information, personal information. The less personal information you share about yourself, the lower risk, the lower probability you have of being targeted. Now, if your mother, God bless her, if she, does not like Donald Trump, she's engaging in political, discussion, which if she was in a chat room, a private chat room, that would be different.
Yeah.
If she's doing it in a social milieu on a social account where, if others can see and comment, she's now opening herself up. The downside is, and again, nothing against your mother, is that many online users don't realize, they think when they go online, they're only talking to a small group of people.
I told her that.
They also don't realize, Zach, when you go online, whatever I put online, I can delete it, but that doesn't mean it disappears.
Yeah, exactly.
It's eternal. Once you put stuff online, it never goes away. And we're starting to see slowly but surely with public figures where information that they have published online or comments they've made, in broadcast media or even in any type of legacy media, now all of a sudden, years later, all of a sudden it's starting to come back and haunt them, and it's affecting their political campaigns and ability to actually campaign for something that they said years ago.
Yeah. I remember when Kevin Hart was going to do the Oscars or Emmys or whatever one, and they pulled up his tweets from 10 years ago or 15 years ago, and he had to walk away from being the host of this major award show because something he did that long ago. Then he's like, well, I deleted it. But like you said, it's always there.
Yes, and over the course of the years, I would say 2, maybe 3, where there were people that had called me. They actually went to apply for a job. They thought they were going to get it, and it turns out that the job, the potential employer, did a social media search, just Googled their name, and it turned out that the information that they read and learned about on page 2 ended up leading to the person not getting their job.
Yeah. I think most people, when they're hiring somebody, they now are Googling the person to see what comes up.
Of course, they're not supposed to, but they do.
Oh, they're not supposed to?
No, they're not supposed to. I mean, not that it's a law, but I guess it's not illegal, but it's not, you're not, an employer is not supposed to do a social media search when they're considering you for that very reason, because there is content that maybe you shared, disseminated 8 years ago when you were a freshman in college, and now all of a sudden you're looking to join, to be hired by an attorney firm, and because some asinine, foolish thing you did as a freshman in college, that prevents you from getting hired.
Yeah, that makes sense. What's the worst kind of thing that you've that you've seen that out there that's happened to
Well,
someone?
the worst thing that's going on right now, and this is for children, for minors, all the way up through adult, is sextortion. Sextortion is nothing more than blackmail, and sextortion is that the iPredator is able to acquire, whether it's your ex-boyfriend, your ex-husband, ex-girlfriend, whether it's somebody who's hacked your account, whether it's just information that you shared with a friend. If it is of a sexual nature, that iPredator takes that information and now he contacts you, could send you an email, he could actually call you on the phone, he can contact you many ways and say, listen, I have this information, and if you don't provide me more sexual content, I'm going to share this information to your mother, to your father, I'll send it to your job, I'll send it to your professors. This is extortion. And because it is so shame-based, the vast majority of children and most adults, Zach, they don't tell anybody about it. Why? Because they're mortified. They're so ashamed and they're so traumatized they don't know what to do. Sextortion is one of the fastest growing, cyber criminal activities that are going on. And the downside is it is so psychologically damaging to the victim.
Yeah, I mean, I can't even imagine, if there was this kind of happened to a friend of mine years ago where he was on a dating app and sent, a text or a picture of himself, an inappropriate picture, and it came back a couple of years later to him and I don't remember what they were asking for, but they're like, "We have this picture of you." And he didn't believe them, and they said, "Here's the picture. I'm gonna send it. I'm gonna start sending it out to your." He's a doctor too.
Yeah, so there you go. That's that is extortion. Exactly. Thank you.
And they said, I don't remember what they asked for. I feel like it was like crypto or something. And they were going to, if he didn't send anything, and he took a chance and nothing ever happened. But he was so on edge for a couple of weeks because he wasn't sure
Of
if
course.
his hospital administration was going to get this picture that he sent off of somebody he was trying to meet online.
Exactly. And that is extortion. And with children, unfortunately, what we're seeing is that children, what do? They commit suicide. So now what we're seeing, teen suicide has always existed, but now it is growing because of cyberbullying and then also sextortion because the child is so mortified. The iPredator says, if you don't send me more sexual content or dance nude for me or send me, crotch pictures, I'm going to send these pictures to your parents. Boom.
And are they falling into that trap and doing what the person wants?
Of course they are, yes, because they don't know what to do about it. And that is the dark side of cyberspace because a lot of it is so shame-based, all right? They don't want to go to their parents because they're afraid if they go to their parents, they're going to, be punished and have all their technology taken away, or it's going to blow up into something, But Zach, this is also with adults too. Even when adults are sextorted, they don't go to authorities. They don't go and tell their employer, hey, boss, this may occur. This what's happening to me because they're so ashamed.
And what about like the adults that are looking for children online? Are you helping with that as well, trying to stop that?
Yeah, also online child predator. That is, as we were saying earlier, online child predation and sexual abuse material consumers, child porn consumers, and distributors that make it a business of it. That is a huge industry. And of the iPredator types, the online child predator and the child sexual abuse material consumer distributors are the darkest, the most deviant.
Yeah.
And the thing is, Zach, for your audience, a good percentage of them are not pedophiles. They're not child molesters, particularly those that make a business off it. Why? Because they're making money.
Oh, so they're selling it.
Of course they're selling it. The last time I checked, we're going a couple of years back, one image of a child porn image could go anywhere for $7 to $15 per image.
Wow.
And that was several years ago. I don't actively, So there is a huge market for child sexual abuse material. And yes, you introduce with the dark web. A lot of it goes on in the dark web. But if you and I are amongst a group of folks, within a community, we just send it to each other via email. And we have VPNs, so it's hard to track me. And that's how we exchange with one another.
Wow. That's crazy.
This is the dark side of cyberspace, Zach, because I can hide, behind a computer screen. I can hide behind a mobile device. So one of the things, as I was saying, offline distress dictates online response. The less personal information you share online, the lower probability you have of being targeted yourself. The other thing is, I call it the IVI, iPredator victim intuition. Now, we won't use your mother, but there are plenty of people that go on to social media, and even if they have their settings set to private, they will go online and they will expose themselves and talk about their daily lives. And talk about their living, whether they're happy, whether they're sad, whether they're angry, whether they're going to divorce, whether they're going through a breakup. Now, if I am a good iPredator, remember, iPredator victim intuition, I now start to look at you, Zach, and I see what you've been posting. You're going through divorce, okay? And you're looking for resolve. You're looking through support from some of the other guys and some of the other guys. Well, you know what, Zach, I know you're discouraged, and I know you're happy, and I know you're distressed. Online victim intuition. I look at you, and the first thing I think of as a good online psychopath, that's a whole show in and of itself, online psychopathy. But I look at you and I say, you know what? You're a good mark. So now what I do is I watch your show. I see if you have a website or a blog. I see, does Zach have any social media profiles? Well, he's got X. He's got Facebook. He's also got a Snapchat. He's got TikTok too. And now what I do is I begin to, take data. I begin to collect information about you. The more information I can collect about you, the more I can to ultimately target you, or guess what? Maybe call a parent, maybe call a relative. I just helped somebody just now who the internet troll didn't go after the actual person, online user that was pissing him off, that was upsetting. What he did was the person that is his subject, he went to a friend on Facebook and targeted that person and went after that person's employer.
Oh, wow.
This is what they do. Now, we have internet trolls, then we have what's called predatory trolls, and that in itself is a show in of itself. It's understanding, Zach, you got people that just get pissed off. They go online and say, blah, 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 and they argue. It's called flaming. But then you've got people who, I don't want to necessarily say are touched in the head. Some have mental illness. Some are access to personality disorder. Some are of criminal intent. And some of them are just straight stone cold psychopath. Yeah. And you get some of these people going, they will stop at nothing to take you down.
How do you stop this aggression though? Like what's kind of the cure for all this aggression that people have that they're taking out on people online? Like,
well, the first thing is understanding, one, it exists. So again, I hate to bring up your mother, but your mother's going on. She's an anti-Trumper, and there's nothing wrong with being anti-Trumper, anti-Biden. But when you go online and you begin to express a political opinion, okay, and you do it frequent enough, ultimately, not that it's going to happen to your mom, but you increase the probability. You're not going to get some just jerk who loves Trump and is just going to call you an a-hole. You're going to get somebody that really, really dislikes you. And it's more than just disagreeing, because when it comes to political discussion, we can agree to disagree. But if I'm access to personality disorder, if I'm bipolar, if I'm a psychopath, I'm a predatory troll, and now I get my teeth into you, I don't let up. Because now I go after your mother. I now have to go after her son's podcast. I go after her son's employer. I go after your mother's sister. And that's what predatory trolls do. Their goal is to completely decimate your online presence, and if they can succeed, your livelihood offline. These are iPredators.
And do you see this happening? Do you see it just continuing to grow more and more and more as people have
Yes.
more information out there? I mean, I feel like you can find out anything about anybody at this point, you know?
Yes. The key is, again, as I said earlier, personal information, personal information, personal information. The less personal information you share, the better. So for your audience, if you have 8 to 10 different social media accounts, go to those accounts and try to pull some personal information about you. Now, obviously, public figures, we now call them influencers, public figures, celebrities, sport. They have to have a certain amount of personal information about them out there. So, but they themselves can also truncate the personal information that they share online. Remember, we can compile information, we can disseminate information, and we can exchange information. Okay. An iPredator is able to watch and is able to cyberstalk and surveil the information that you're collecting. Obviously, he or she is able to collect what you're disseminating. And most importantly, he's able to learn to see what you're exchanging with others and who you're exchanging with. And by doing all that, a skilled iPredator, they're able to psychologically profile you. And Zach, they've never met you face to face.
Yeah.
That's what I call social media profiling. And under victim intuition, if you present yourself online as being discouraged, depressed, angry, irate, anything within the extremist, anything within psychological, neurotic, you increase your probability of getting targeted.
Does any of this stuff you ever see kind of scare the shit out of you sometimes whenever you're like, you just see what people can do online?
Well, sure. It scares me. I mean, I originally studied as a forensic psychologist. I studied the psychopath. I have studied sociopathy, psychopathy, personality disorders. What scares me now, okay, and it hasn't happened yet, is artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
That is very hard to explain how we're going to get around that.
Yeah.
For years, I have sat here and I have said, just like I'm saying to you, Zach, and I mean, goodness, in the beginning, and not to bring up your mother again, but your mother amongst millions of other online users go online, and a good percentage of their social exchange, their social time is spent online exchanging.
Yeah.
Okay. You think it's very innocent, which it is. But when you get an iPredator who gets you and starts to look at you and starts to go to your different profiles and starts to collect your data and now even watches your comments, it is incredible what mostly he, but she, because there's also now women iPredators, what they can learn about you.
Wow. And just the whole sex trafficking thing that's happening now online too, right? I mean, like you keep hearing these.
It's the dark side of cyberspace.
Yeah.
In the pre-information age world, like I said, I wrote a concept called dark psychology, which is the dark side of human consciousness, which basically means we all have these dark, violent fantasies. Mm-hmm. Even nuns have dark fantasies. So these people of the cloth have dark fantasies, but they don't act upon them. Mm-hmm. Under dark psychology is when a person begins to fantasize to enough, it becomes a compulsive fantasy. They continue, it's one thing to have a fantasy of wanting to, molest, a 6-year-old. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now you begin to think about that more often. So instead of it being once a month, it's now once daily. And now instead of it being once daily, it's now 3 times daily. And now it's seeing the 6-year-old walking down the street. In a pre-information age world, that's how it occurred. Now, with information communication technology, that same process begins. But now, Zach, I'm sitting here on my ass by myself, and I'm able to access content of 6-year-old. If I want to go to dark web, I can. Or I could talk to my friend that lives over in the Bronx, and we can do it that way. So information technology has opened up, I don't want to say evil, but is opened up a portal for people to be able to access, in the beginning, I thought to myself, Zach, I mean, studying the psychopath, the sexual sadist, the deepest, darkest, most devious shit you have ever seen. I still study that. But there was a time when I used to think to myself, which was true, is that in order for that deviant to fulfill his fantasy or to be able to talk about that with somebody else, he had to go into the paper or he had to go into a community. He had to go somewhere. Okay. Now I don't have to get up off my ass. I can sit and go to a message form or an email. I don't even have to move from my chair because now I have information technology. And what does that do? All I need is one person to validate my darkest deviant fantasies. Once that's validated, that encourages me to do it again, to do it again, and to do it again. All right. The vast majority of mass murderers, even like what we see right now, the vast majority of them, what did they do before they committed the act? They researched other mass murderers. Okay. We call them copycat. Again, this is what's going on. But now, Zach, I mean, in the old days, if somebody, committed a mass shooting, the only way you would learn about it is maybe in the newspaper.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, even the slightest, 3-person mass shooter, let's say Arizona, it's all over the web.
Yeah.
And what that does, it takes my dark fantasies and it fuels them. Because if there's others out there, then, and again, not to get political, okay, but the Charlie Kirk assassination, that right there has just taught, volumes of dark psychology, criminal psychology, and what I call the cyber criminal mind.
Yeah. And it's also like people that are doing this cyber bullying, cyber, stalking, they can be anonymous. So that means that they could be a shy, nerdy, introverted person, but if they're behind the computer and nobody knows who they really are, they could say and do whatever they want, right?
Yes,
that's scary.
Perfect, Zach. I should send you another check for that. In a pre-information age world, we'll just talk about bullying when it comes to children. Yeah. In a pre-information age world, when I was a kid, my bully, to beat the shit out of me, he was bigger than me because I was a little short. It wasn't until I grew up to be 6'1" that he started, they stopped. But in a pre-information age world, physical attributes made a difference to be a bully.
Oh, yeah.
Now with cyberbullying, you could be a little pipsqueak. And if you have the gift of gab and you know how to use social media, you can brutalize anybody no matter their size.
Yeah.
And that is what information technology is doing. Has nothing to do with your physical attributes. It has everything to do with your acumen, what you can do using social media or information technology.
I could even imagine being in junior high or high school with social media. I'm so glad I missed that.
And as I said earlier, we all grew up, we had teen suicide, but now what we have, which is a relatively new phenomenon in the last, I'd say 15 years, is called cyberbullying. Yeah. And that's when a child takes his or her life. Why? Yeah. Because he or she is getting cyberbullied, is getting taunted, is getting, terrorized online. And one of the things that's different now related to cyberbullying as opposed to bullying, not to say that bullying is not serious, because it is. Yeah. Matter of fact, for your audience, is Google, October is National Bullying Prevention Month.
Okay.
So every October here in the United States, we dedicate a month, National Bullying Prevention Month. Well, now the vast majority of bullying, what does it include? Cyberbullying.
Yeah.
So very rarely, I don't want to say 100%, but the vast majority of bullying that's occurring, bullying is physically taunting and teasing, whether it be at school, on ground, in neighborhood. It also includes online and social media. But one of the most unfortunate phenomena of cyberbullying is called cyberbullying by proxy. And what that means, Zach, is, all right, on your cyberbullying, we're both freshmen in high school. Mm. Well, you know what? I also get my friends from the state over and 2 counties over, and I manipulate them to target you. Cyberbullying by proxy. So now it's no longer Dr. Mike who's messing with Zach. It's now 50 other people from all over the country that is now targeting you, that is calling your parents, that is doing everything they possibly can to basically destroy your reputation and your ability to go online.
Like I have, nieces and nephews and cousins that are younger, I hear some of the stories that's happened. I'm like, God, kids are so mean, and now just think about with the online, they can even be more horrific people just because they can get away with it, because they don't have to say anything.
There's something you just want to say that I want to post to your audience. Unfortunately, we don't have a chat mechanism here. You just said it. I wrote Dark Psychology back in 2006. I wrote iPredator 2009, 2010. I have studied the dark side of human consciousness and of cyberspace for, goodness, the last 20 years.
Okay.
I still can't answer this, and you just said it, is that, do you think that because I can hide online behind a device, does that make me more evil, or does it open up the portal to allow more evil to come out? That is the part I still can't understand.
Yeah.
I know this may sound a little crazy to your audience, but I've been saying this to years. Cyberspace is an extension of human consciousness.
Yeah.
Zach, I know that sounds a little nutty right now.
No, it doesn't. I
have a feeling somehow information technology, the digital universe, is somehow able to connect with all our neurons, is able to connect to human consciousness, because I am telling you, Zach, people go online, and is it just the veil of anonymity? Because they can hide behind a device, so now they can let their proverbial hair down?
Yeah.
And if they let the proverbial hair down, does that mean in all of us, dark psychology, we are opening up completely the portal of evil? Or does somehow cyberspace, the internet, social media, does it foster it? Does it fuel it? Does it accelerate it? Or has it always been there?
Yeah.
That's what I still can't explain that one.
Yeah. If somebody wants to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Everything at my website is free. It's educational. It's public domain. I offer volunteer work I've been doing for 15 years. They're welcome to call. So everything at my website is free. I'm on X. I'm on Facebook. Just so you know, though, with social media on a monthly basis, and that's an internet safety tip, maybe we can talk at a different time. I know this sounds silly, but I keep my social media, my profiles, my followers, very small.
Okay.
Every single person I check, and I've done that for years. And on a regular basis, it's a little bit laborious, but I do it anyway. I go to my followers and I weed out those who don't comment, who don't share.
Yeah.
Only because that's an internet safety. But I'm on social media, but everything at my website is free and public domain.
And I will put your website in the description of this video or podcast for anybody that wants to come. And I just want to say before we end that I think the volunteering that you're doing to help people is so amazing.
Oh, thank you.
You're such a good person for doing that. And you have no much. I really appreciate you coming on and kind of educating people about this and just kind of talking about this.
Mm-hmm.
It's scary. But I think it's good for people to actually hear what's happening. So thank you so much. And take a moment sometimes and reflect on 15 years that you've been helping people volunteering. Think about how much help you've given people. And I think that's amazing. So thanks for doing that.
Thank you.
Thanks everybody for listening. Be sure to check out Michael's website, and you find him on social media, send him a message and tell him you enjoyed the show. So thanks so much for being on. I appreciate it.
Thank you.